everyone, and welcome back to Wisdom Talks. Today's topic is staying motivated through setbacks. My name's Amanda Chadwick, and I'm joined today by a colleague and friend, Amy, who is here to help you get through those setbacks and help you stay motivated. It's one of those topics, I think, at the beginning of the year, we all set our goals and often fail. Quite often, I'm thinking about losing weight and I don't get through January. In fact, I don't get through the biscuits in. So what we're going to do is talk about that. So I'm going to introduce Amy now. She's going to tell you why she's here today and how you can help.
Okay, so my name's Amy. I'm one of the Wellbeing counsellors here at Health Assured. So I've worked here for 3.5 years on the helpline. I'm qualified in lots of different approaches, and being qualified and trained in solution-focused therapy, one of the main things is helping clients establish goals, helping them to maintain them and look at ways in which they can meet the goal that they're creating.
And that can be just simple goals, like everyday goals, like not drinking Coca-Cola on a daily basis, or it can be longer goals, like long vision goals where, you know, they're going for a marathon, or they want to lose a stone in weight, or they just want to change certain habits. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so sometimes some of the goals can be, so if they call the helpline, they've been off work for a while, it might be, I want to return to work. That's a really great goal, but then what we then need to do is establish, how are you going to get back to work? What is in the way for you at the moment? What obstacles? Yeah. What are you struggling with? What do you need to overcome? So it's helping people to kind of strip it right back and making sure those goals are achievable. So going to like that goal then we said about running a marathon. Like, I want to run a marathon in 2 months. Like, is that achievable? So yeah, it's working with clients to find ways in which establishing what the goal is and how we can help them to get there.
I think what we do as well is we say so many no's, don't we? We get, like for the gym, for example, I've been a member of a gym for a long time, and I think I've only used it a handful of times. And then I'll wake up early enough, but then I think, oh no, the weather's not great, or I feel tired, or I've got this to do. And you know, it's trying to change that mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
To make you positive and want to do it. How would you do that?
Okay, so firstly, I would always advise trying to focus on one goal at a time. So focusing on one thing rather than having multiple goals. You might have like other goals going on, say at work, but ultimately if you've got like an ambition, something you want to achieve or do, if you've got a goal, making sure you're focused. And what I would always question as well is, so say for example, someone's got a New Year's goal because they want to quit smoking. I would be looking at, you have to want to do something for yourself to be able to keep that motivation and achieve it. So if somebody else wants you to do something and achieve something, then it's questioning what you've got within you. Am I going to achieve that? Is it realistic? So yeah, I think a lot of the time it's got to want to come from yourself internally.
100%. It's got to be you, because somebody's putting pressure on you, and also you feel like that you're letting them down, don't you? And they may nag you and go, why didn't you do it? So it has to be self-belief there, doesn't it? That you want to do it. You've got the passion for that and you really want it. So that's the first step. So, you know, when somebody has that goal, let's say that I'll give you the weight loss example. Okay. Yeah. So, I know I put on quite a few kilos. We all have, I think, a lot of people from the pandemic. And also my job's changed slightly, so I'm putting weight on and age. And I always think I'm going to start my diet on Monday. Yeah. And then I'll do an ice shop and I'll think, I'll do it next Monday, and I put it off. How can I change that? How can I make it happen that day? How can I sort of implement that new change and keep up with it? How can I do that?
Okay. So firstly, it's setting the date that you want to start, making sure that you're going to stick to it. Some hints and tips are, maybe make it public. When I say public, I don't mean like broadcast it on social media, but maybe chat to your friends about it and make people aware of your intentions. Because you've put it out there, then your motivation's going to be, well, actually, I don't want people to think I'm a failure or that my intentions aren't there. So then it's always going back to making sure it's realistic. So a SMART goal is something specific. It's measurable, achievable, and realistic within a certain time scale. So with weight loss, always advise you to be careful. So looking at what weight you already are. If I was working with a client, I'd be looking at any historical struggles with eating disorders and that sort of thing. But generally for the general public and people that have quite a healthy relationship with food, it's setting a realistic goal in a certain amount of time. So then what you would do then is maybe look at the structure of your week. So if you're thinking that you're going to go to the gym 5 days a week, is that realistic for you? Are you going to be able to achieve that? If you really struggle for time, is there other ways that you can exercise? So for example, can you go out for a 15-minute brisk walk on your lunch? Can you get off the bus to stop earlier? It's finding ways in which you can stay motivated. And the key as well is being patient. So the same with any goal, not just the weight loss one, it's being patient. I think as humans, we try and rush things. We want something done now, don't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's finding like that steady pace and that steady progress. So if you come up against a setback, we don't let a bad day turn into a bad week. So yeah, it's about building your resilience as well. And if you have a bad day, it's finding a way of getting back on track again. Going back to when I said about making it public, answering your original question there, you might have a whiteboard somewhere where you can see it, post-it notes, writing it down somewhere. By writing it down and creating it, it makes it more real. Visualising things in your mind of your outcome, getting to that end goal, that can be really helpful on days where you feel like giving up.
I think visualising it is a good idea. I've done that in other situations. I think the weight loss one is one of the ones I find hardest. And actually, talking about announcing it in public, I put it on the family chat. I've got a huge family, put it on the family chat, said I was going to swim swim the length of the English Channel, I think it was. And then they were all going, well done, go on, go for it. I never did it. But it is announcing it, isn't it? Because you've got that pressure, haven't you? You're 11 down, you want to do it. But so we've got the goal set. We've got the mindset change. We've got the SMART objectives. What then, if we do have, you do have that setback, you do you're doing really well, but then suddenly you're not doing as well. Like say, for example, we've given an example of weight loss. I gave you that because that's something every year I think I will do. And in fact, you're right. I want a transformation. If I'm on a diet that day, I hope that my body looks so slim tomorrow. I want it immediate. So how do we keep that momentum going? How do we realise that it's not an overnight impact? It's going to take time to get to that goal. How would you keep that motivation going?
Yeah, there's no quick fix sometimes, is there, when we're like looking for things. But so things like journaling and writing things down, it's reminding yourself of why you wanted to do it originally. Yeah, so it's reminding yourself of originally why you wanted to do something in the first place. And life happens. Yeah. Something might come up that you don't expect, work might be stressful. So sometimes if we put things on a back burner, is there a way that we can carry on doing something? Yeah. We might not be getting closer to our goal, but it's adapting to our current situation, just finding a place of acceptance at that moment in time. But it doesn't mean that we've failed or we're not going to get there. Yeah. It might just take us a little bit longer to find our way to that point.
I think when people are busy as well, and a lot of the audience here are busy, I think most people that listen to a podcast are doing it in the car or on the train or whatever. And I think that is finding it's adapting it to your lifestyle, like you said earlier on. So for me, instead of getting the lift, it's, walking upstairs instead. Yeah, if there's a shortcut, maybe not taking that shortcut. If I have a meeting, I do a walking meeting. So I'll walk, and walk with the phone. We'll have that meeting and you're getting your steps in, aren't you? So I think that's the way that I've already started to implement things. But going forward, I think the journal, I've not thought about writing things down. I think that's, I know I write things down with a pencil when I'm like researching, but actually, no, I've not used it to journal for for a goal that I've set. So what I will do actually is I will follow what you're saying. For me personally, I hope the audience do, and I'll feed back on that. Actually, come in the next 4 weeks, I'll be like slimmer. But but how do you reward yourself as you go along? Would you reward yourself each time you hit a step and you've done well?
Yeah,
you've achieved it.
Self-compassion and self-affirmation. Yeah. I mean, it would all depend on what your goal is and what you're aiming to achieve, what your reward might be. Because sometimes with weight loss, some people might treat themselves to a takeaway every now and again. So they're still having those nice things, not depriving themselves. People that give up smoking, they might put money away, and then at the end of the month, what they would have saved, go out and treat themselves to something. There's lots of different ways that we can kind of reward ourselves and feel proud of ourselves as well in different ways.
That's that's a really good one, actually, the money side of it, because we use cards now, don't we? People use the phone to pay for things. We don't actually see our worth, I don't think. So I think the money side of it is a really good idea. Have a jar and you can see how much money you're saving.
Yeah, it's a visual kind of incentive and motivation as well, isn't it?
I think that works. And you're right there, visual incentive. I can actually see that and what it's worth. And it is about the worth, isn't it? So I think that's a really good idea. And anything that you'd add also for the steps or where you've seen success with some of your clients?
Yeah, one thing that I would say as well is when you ask the question about the setbacks and how you come back from that, is originally, if it's changing the mindset, if it was originally a short-term goal, there's nothing wrong with then making it a long-term goal and extending that time. And when we first initially create goals to stay motivated, it's really important that we do reflect on what we want to achieve, why, what we're going to get from it, and our end outcome. And again, going back to that key word, that place of acceptance. Acceptance is a really important word, because if we can accept how we feel and where we are on that day-to-day basis, we don't want to feel like a failure, because it's so easy to throw the towel in, isn't it, and give up. And it's about not giving up. It's about being kind to yourself as well. And it's okay to have setbacks, because I think as human beings, making changes is really easy. It's the maintaining of it, I think that's the hardest part, maintaining those changes, because it's really easy to slip back into old habits and old ways.
It's like when lots of people give up smoking or give up vaping. A lot of people are giving up vaping now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think I know what I smoked many years ago, and my family did as well. And I think that I related, it was the only time I actually sat down and had a break. So I would have a cigarette and have a coffee and enjoy that moment. And it was the one time that I had that rest. And it's changing, and it's when I had a conversation as well. So it's still enjoying that break, and having that conversation and finding an alternative, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, something else.
So if you are one of those people giving up something like that, for the new year, that's possibly something to remember, that you take yourself out of that situation, but do something as rewarding, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, because there's an incentive, and that keeps the motivation. Sometimes with goals as well, I think there's negative ones, because we can feel motivated by consequences. That's what I mean by negative. So a goal to not be late for work, it's reflecting on what the consequences of not achieving that goal might be. So if it is a personal goal, you could maybe use consequences as a way of motivating yourself. So if there's one morning where you don't want to get out of bed, the consequences of not going to work, not being paid, your attendance record, that kind of gives you that push in that morning to get out of bed. There's other examples out there, but sometimes they can be negative factors as well that can give you encouragement and motivation because of what might happen if you don't achieve the goal or you don't make it somewhere that day.
So stay motivated, having goals. Don't punish yourself as well. Don't beat yourself up about it. We're all going to have setbacks, aren't we? But how would that, if you do have a setback, and some people, I think some people have it as a water off a duck's back, other people would really, really affect them, wouldn't it? How would they deal with that? A setback.
So when we look at resilience, if you struggle with confidence and self-esteem and self-worth, there's always that pressure to put on yourself to be perfect and do things in a certain way. And sometimes if people fail at that first hurdle, for them straight away, I failed, I can't do it, I'm not going to be able to do it. So having that perfectionism or that pressure that you put on yourself, it's kind of going back to basics. Sometimes it can sound really simple, but it's going right back to basics, thinking about what you want and why you want it, setting that time. So if you do feel like you're coming up against a hurdle or that you're going to fail, resilience is about your ability to bounce back and how quickly. So if you have had a bad day or a bad week, that's okay, because it's where you are at that point in time. So I think resilience is really important, that recognising, I didn't do what I wanted this week, but I'm going to get back on track, and I'm back on my journey, the destination's in sight. So I think resilience is a really key factor in there as well.
I think time management is really important, especially people I speak to myself. I think time management is super important because I'm not very good at time management, and quite often that's the reason why I do fail. And I also let people take my time, and time is precious, as you know. So what happens is, I'll get swept away on something else, and then think, oh gosh, that half an hour I was supposed to be doing that, and I seem to be chasing my tail, and I never fit that exercise or whatever I want into it. And so I should I think personally, I'm asking you really, because we are talking about staying motivated, resilience. How can I be assertive enough to say to somebody, actually, that hour was mine to go to the gym, or that hour was to do something else. But how can I be more assertive, do you think? Is that something we should say for another podcast, or do you think?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because personal boundaries, I think, I really liked what you said there, because personal boundaries are so important. So what I might do, so being a therapist, some of my friends, obviously I don't offer them therapy, but if they want to talk, because I'm a good listener, I might say, so I'll look at the time. If I can't do it in that moment, I have learned to have boundaries, and I will say, I'm really busy right now. However, at 6 o'clock, I've got half an hour, or I'm free this evening. So I always offer somebody an alternative. So I'm not dismissing them or invalidating them, but I'm recognising that I need that time for myself. Or if I look and I've got 20 minutes before I need to be somewhere, I'll make it perfectly clear and say, right, I've got 10 minutes right now. And I do have that confidence and courage to say, I'm really sorry, I've got to go now. So if you've dedicated time and space to meet your goal, whether it's for reflection, for journaling, for self-care, for exercise, it's being able to manage your time. And for your true friends and family, I think they would understand. It's different if it's a work colleague or somebody that you're not very close to, but I think you could have more confidence with friends and family to not overcommit. Because if we overcommit and we give ourselves to somebody where that time was for ourselves, we're kind of sacrificing our own happiness and well-being for somebody else's. But it doesn't mean that we can't be kind and helpful and still be there for others. It's just finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of managing your time better.
Yeah, I think because if you're setting goals, you're motivated, you've done all that, but then people are taking chunks of your time away, it's messing the whole thing up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've got to be assertive, have that time management, like you say, set those personal boundaries.
Yeah.
And then those goals and objectives. I'm learning as I'm going along, actually. You're really helping me. But then it really helps you to achieve what you want to achieve and those long-term objectives and goals, doesn't it? So for me, that's brilliant. So it helps. Is there anything else you think that people should know about? And I think some of the people that joined in the feedback for this podcast would say it was about the goal set. It was about resilience, not giving up, the setbacks, not beating themselves up about it, and also celebrating at the end as well. Should celebrate it, shouldn't they?
And recognise your achievements. And sometimes people struggle to give themselves compliments or affirmation or self-compassion.
Yeah.
And again, it's building your resilience, your self-awareness, and who you are as a person. And once you've achieved that goal, it's staying motivated, because as humans, we're ever evolving. When we've achieved one goal, we don't stop there. What can I do next? What do I want to do next? How can I build upon this goal that I've achieved now? Can I take it higher? Is there somewhere else that I want to focus on now? So it's achieving your goal, but then not staying in that same place and finding a new way of doing something, or a different direction you want to go in.
I think I'll pick you up on an affirmation there, actually, because there are people out there, and it depends on how you're brought up or what environment you're in, that you might not get somebody saying, well done, well done. People are different, aren't they? Different families and the way they react. And I think personally, you can do your own, I think of yourself as if you're looking after a person, and you're split into two, really. So you could say to you, well, I know I do it. So I go, that was a really good day today. And I actually tell myself that. And I vote, not so everybody can hear, but vocally say it, that was a really good day today. Or if it's not so good day, I say, that wasn't the best day, but you can do better.
Yeah.
And I think if we train ourselves to do that, and we keep, affirming is the word, isn't it? Affirming to ourselves that, you know, things could be better or you're doing really well. It's very important that, because if you haven't got somebody, if you live alone, for example, or you have a family that aren't very open about that, or you haven't sort of told people your objectives and the goals you've set, they won't know. So I think it's really important that you do recognize yourself and you affirm yourself, and say to yourself, and remember that you are listening, and the more positive things you say, the more likely, like, go on, you can do it. I say that to myself, I do.
Positive self-talk.
That's it. Well, that's I'm looking, I don't know the legal phrase, I'm not a therapist, but you are. But so say that again for the camera. What is it? It's positive.
The positive self-talk. So I really, really liked what you said there, because it got me thinking. And you know, like how sometimes people do like a gratitude diary, for just write down 3 things a day.
Another thing that I'm writing down.
So gratitude is like writing maybe 3 things at the end of the day that you were grateful for or that made you happy. I'm going to go right back to the start of this podcast when we talked about setbacks. That could be a way of getting yourself back on track and getting motivated. What have I done so far to help me achieve this goal? What have I already achieved and what's left? So if you're able to recognise what you've already achieved to get you to where you are already, it'll help you to see the progress that you've made, and any obstacles that you've overcome. Give yourself some clarity about where you're at and then where you need to go for the rest of the journey for whatever the goal is that you have set, or what direction you want to go in. So if you come up against a setback and you want to get your motivation back, reflect on what you've done already, or reflect on previous goals that you've achieved, what you've done historically already, because that's about your resilience and your self-growth as well. It's reminding yourself of all those positive things that you are capable of and that you've achieved so far.
We forget, don't we?
We do.
I think what also is a really good idea is when, say, you are having a bad day, is remembering, say like you're in sales. Let's just say I was selling something and today I can't sell. And whatever I do, I'm just not selling, and I'm getting more and more stressed about it. If I can sort of remember the day when I had the best sales day ever, and remember that, and remind my brain of that, and a journal, that gratitude journal is a reminder system, isn't it? I could put a header at the top and say, this was a great day for whatever you know, and you can refer back to it like a reference. But I think that when you're having a bad day, whether it is goal setting or it's just having a bad day, go back to a day when you had the most fabulous and fantastic day and put yourself there. And I think that gives you that.
It's going back to that visualization, isn't it? So you can visualize back for where you was historically, and also project ahead and visualize what it is you want to achieve and how it's going to feel when you have achieved it, and what that might look like for you.
Bring those emotions back. So you might feel glum today, but think one was a day that I was really happy. Remembering, like, even just being on holiday and remembering that sun beating on your face, your toes in the water, the sand slipping from under your feet, and remembering that and feeling that feel-good moment will take some of that edge of glumness away, and maybe motivate you to do the goals that you've set. So there's lots of, what's the official term for that?
For the visualization,
there's just visualization.
There's like mindfulness, so it's grounding yourself, bringing yourself back to the here and now, and it's connecting back with yourself. So as human beings, we're often projecting back to the past, ahead to the future. It's bringing yourself back to the here and now, and kind of like re-grounding yourself, resetting.
And that helps stay motivated through setbacks, doesn't it?
Because if you are projecting ahead and you've got anxiety, it is bringing yourself back to the here and now. In that, there's a really great technique that I like as well, and I do use it on the helpline. It's called the STOPP technique. So it's stopping, taking a step back, observing, putting things into perspective, and practice what works. So it's STOPP.
Give us an example. Give us in real life how somebody could use that.
So the STOPP technique I sometimes recommend if someone's feeling angry and frustrated, because it stops that response on autopilot in that moment. But one thing I really like about the STOPP technique is the O, which is observe. I think we can get so fixated and focused on what's going on externally, we forget to turn it internally. So rather than focus on all the external stuff, let's turn it inwards. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Why? I'm going to put things into perspective, and I'm going to practice what works. what would be a more positive response in this moment? What choice can I make in this moment? So yeah, it's kind of reframing your thoughts in that moment rather than reflecting on autopilot. And then it might be negative, or we want to throw the towel in and we make a choice fueled by emotions. Because I think as human beings as well, sometimes we can make a life-changing decision like leaving a job because of the way we feel in that moment. Yeah, we're driven by emotion. And if we've got a goal or we want to do something or get to a certain destination, yeah, if we're able to check in with ourselves in that moment, and just observe the noise that's going on internally rather than just the external situation and chaos that's around us.
I think that's absolutely brilliant advice, honestly. A lot of bad decisions are made through emotion, and the way that we react to people are made by...
And that's how we give up, isn't it?
Yeah.
By negative emotions and negative thoughts.
And also, those negative thoughts can stop you, stay motivated through setbacks, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think those are absolutely fantastic tips for people today in our little 20-25 minute session.
Yeah.
And at the end of each of these podcasts, we have, because it's called Wisdom Talks, we have those wisdom words. And I asked you before the podcast, have you got something to say to the audience about your wisdom words for this?
So the words of wisdom, as said and quoted by Winston Churchill, is success is not final, failure is not fatal, and it's the courage to continue that counts. So we don't give up, and it's having that courage to pick back up and carry on again, even through setbacks.
Yes. I think you've helped me today, and I will share that knowledge that you've given me. And I think, and I know that the people listening today will find that advice incredible. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, and thank you for joining me as well, because some of the questions and the experiences you've shared were really helpful as well.
Brilliant.